Now, joining me today, better yet, her name is Shamari, but I'm gonna let her give the full scope of her, okay? Because funny enough, I met her when I was walking in Texas, and I saw her and her husband. They were over here. I'm like, okay, they doing something with this building. What's going on here? Come to find out, she got her own company, and I am one of the people who love to know people. So if you can go ahead and introduce yourself, honey.
Sure. My name is Shamari Rajagadu. It's actually Shamari Bowens Rajagadu. That's my maiden middle name. And if anybody in East Texas knows Bowens, it's a well-known name. So come from that big clan from East Texas. And yeah, that's me, Shamari Bowens Rajagadu. Probably one of the most unique names you'll ever hear.
Listen, I understand. I understand. So, you and your husband own a construction business.
Correct.
How did that even come into play? Because you've told me that you got a full-time job already.
Yes, that's correct. I am a contract analyst for, I'll just say big pharma. So I work for a big pharma company and I'm a contract analyst, meaning that I actually write the contracts for all of the drugs that they have to put through clinical trials for the
Mm.
United States and Canada. And then on the flip side of that, my husband's friend, how we got into the construction business, and my husband, he actually has a full-time job also. But how we got into it is that his friend was long time. He's always been into construction and had some issues where he had some needed someone to take over the business for him. His son got back into a really bad accident out of the country, and we needed to take over his business for him while he just didn't, it's like, hey, can you guys take over this for me? It's not too bad. It's not too this, not too that. And just kind of just I just need help like really fast while my son's in the hospital. So yes, we said, okay, we can, of course, we can run a business. We do this for, you know, corporate America. Of course, we could do it for his friend, but came to start, understanding the business, loving the business, finding out about it. And then I wound up getting laid off from a company and then said, well, you know what? I have nothing else to do. Let me go and learn this business a little bit more. And so did that. It actually did that. And so just started figuring out, started meeting people, going to meetings around cities, taking
Mm.
over, just pretty much starting to take the reins from him so that he could spend more time with his son that needed, after the accident, his son really actually wound up needing extensive recovery and he wanted to be there for that and help him out and help his family out. So started to just take the reins a little bit more and understand construction. So like I said, I started having to go to the city meetings when you start to, find the land, develop the land, build a building. That requires meeting with the city a lot of times, depending on the county and what's, where you're starting. That requires meeting with the city. So I wasn't unfamiliar for doing that because I had worked for the city of Dallas as a contract analyst for the city of Dallas before too.
Mhm.
So felt pretty comfortable doing that, stepping in his shoes and doing that. But then starting to see how profitable it was for him. It opened my eyes
Mm.
because when you start to build things for people or buildings or projects, then it can be very, very profitable. And I, am not a crazy person. So I was like, hey, wait, I make this amount of money, which, I have a good living, don't get me wrong. But then when you can see how you can make your life better by, adding residual income that is just there for you to retire on, do whatever you need to do, why not do it? So I gave it a lot of thought and said, can I do two full-time jobs? Can I do this? Do I want to stop doing that? And so far it has worked out that I'm able to do two full-time jobs. I do have to go out in the field sometimes, but
Mm.
most of the time I'm based at home. Not for the contract job that I work for Big Pharma. I work strictly from home from there. But for construction, I usually go out in the field, like when you saw me out there when it's time to, do other things, go make sure that the building's ready to be handed over. Just small things that you have to go out in the field to do pre-construction meetings, meeting with the owners or the tenants that's going to build out the buildings. I'm going to Louisiana this weekend to look at a building for someone that wants to build an apartment complex. And
Mm.
then I'll have to rush back to Tyler because I'm actually doing Aspire Dental there in Tyler, and we'll be starting that project. And then Bonham, Texas, because I'll be starting a big strip mall up in Bonham, Texas. So those are the times that I'm actually out in the field. And I somehow luckily have been able to get just get it scheduled around my schedule. I'm pretty flexible what I do for contract analysts for pharma. So I'm pretty flexible. So why not? And so by doing so, my husband and I just figure it out. We're just like, hey, this makes a lot of money on the other side of the table that we could put up and make our lives a lot better. So that's why we decided to do it, and that's how I got into it.
Dang. So the money must be so good to where you're like, you know what? It's okay if I'm a little bit tired.
It is. Yes, because when you, well, yeah, you don't work for free. At least I don't. So when you work, when you work, you have a goal in mind. My husband and I wanted our house paid off, make sure we were debt free by the time we retired. Didn't want to have those issues that,
Mm,
oh, we're almost at retirement and then our house still has a mortgage on it or anything else. We want it to be debt free. So, you just figure out, well, is it worth me being tired now while I'm a little bit younger, where I can retire and then do everything that I want to without worry when I retire and walk out the door? So yeah, you go through those thoughts in your mind for sure. But then yes, when you get into these projects and you start to see your profit margin, making sure that your labor force can, finish the job on time, do those type things that give you profit. Of course, you you get better at it. I'm not saying I was perfect at this because I have learned some things. I have learned
mm,
so much. Didn't want to bother the person that was, taking care of his son. Had to sometimes had to call say, I just don't know what to do. And like tell me, tell me what I need to do here. And just reaching out, but then self-learning. So like I started reading all kind of construction books. I started reading blueprints. I taught myself how to start reading plans, just those type things. I took it upon myself to call the city and say, hey, I'm new at this. I'm brand new. I act like I'm brand new. Teach me how I submit for a permit. Teach me how I do that. And you'd be surprised how many people, if you get the right person on the phone, now don't think this is a fairy tale world where you always get the right person. No, but when you do get the right person, they're almost always willing to help you learn and do the job. It helps them on their end. So if they know that they don't have to talk to you 5 times, if they tell you how to do it once and can get it done, then they're more willing to do so. So it's just those type things. Yes, of course, I've made some mistakes. I've learned about labor force, managing people, the issues God or woman as the front of a construction company. I've learned that I have to use my husband most of the time. That
mm.
male to male conversation, I was noticing I was getting ignored. I was, they're like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. So I said, okay, if that's the game, the way you guys want to play the game, well, then you be the face for me, and I'll do the talking in the background. You convey my message that I need to know. And so that works sometimes. Have I had to fire people? Absolutely. Yep. Have I had to hire
Mm.
people? Absolutely. So, it's one of those things, but you do learn. And if you see that there is an end goal, you just don't let anybody stop you from reaching your end goal. And that's how I get past my hurdles.
Mm. So you said you made a bunch of mistakes. What was like the biggest mistake where you were like, this is never going to happen again? Lesson learned. I'm over it.
Yeah, probably listening to guys thinking they knew more than I did. Um, But by that I mean taking their advice for something that I thought like I can read. So I read that in a book and I was like, I just don't think that's right. And but I was like, okay, they do this every day, so I'm gonna trust them. I guess the biggest mistake would be not following your gut instinct. When you
Mm,
have that instinct inside of you that says, I just don't think that's right, don't back down from it. So that first time I kind of was like, oh, I think, they're probably right. Come to find out, I was 100% right.
mm,
And, like cost me a lot of money at that point. But I learned the lesson like, okay, when I have that instinct in my heart or in my stomach or my head or wherever it comes from, follow it. Follow it until you feel comfortable with it. And I just didn't. I just kind of let them guide me at that point because I was so new at it. But when I winded up talking to my husband's friend, who was the owner of the company at that time, um, you know, He said, no, you, no, you were right. Those clowns didn't. No, they wanted to take the easy route, and you were 100%. Now it's going to wind up costing the company money. And I paid it out of my pocket. I owned up to it, paid it out of my pocket, and just said, okay, that'll never happen again. So,
I would have charged them people who said something. I'd have been like, sir, this is,
yeah,
hello, run this
yeah.
check. But that's crazy. So you said you have to use your husband to sometimes be the face of everything
Yes, yes.
because they will give you so much blowback and thinking that you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of times they will think that, okay, she's here. She's probably here just to take notes or just to, do that or just to whatever. But then when you introduce yourself as the owner and president of the company, they look sideways. So I learned that real quick. It's a good old boys network, especially with men, or maybe I should say a good old male network. And I felt like we just got further letting him be the face. So if that works and if they listen and then we get pushed in the right direction, that gets us over the hurdles, over the finish line with the contract or the with the project, does it really matter who's the face? In the background, the money's still going to come into my household. So
Fair, fair, fair.
yeah.
So do you like with you, how long have you exactly been in this industry?
Now I've been in it. This is our fourth year in it. So 4 years.
So with, all your time and all the lessons that you've learned, with how things have been moving and shaking with a lot of the things going on in this world,
Yeah.
how, like, besides you using your husband to help reach the end goal, how do you mentally take care of yourself, being a Black woman at that?
You have to take time for yourself. You must. Like there are things like right now, as the contract analyst, I'm salaried, so they expect so much out of you, but you have to push back on those parameters as well and keep those parameters for yourself. Like if I go to work 6:30 to 3, that's it. I'm not going to work 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. No, not
Mm,
happening. If it's there, it'll be there tomorrow. You have to understand that I get it. The world is tough. There is a lot going on with right now with the economy and everything in which people have, struggles to get bills paid, to, all of that. But then to take care of your mental health, if you don't, and you let other people, I say, pimp you out the way they want to, especially corporate America, pimp you out,
mm,
then you're wasting your life and you'll look back and say, all that time that I was given to that company, I've seen it happen. Somebody dies, and then 2 weeks later, somebody else is sitting in their seat. So that's an eye-opening experience that I get it. You do have to work, you have bills to pay, got to eat, got kids to put through college, yeah, all that stuff. But then just understanding that I take corporate America exactly for what it is. It's corporate America, and I don't give it more than it can give me.
mm. That's a word. That is a word.
Yeah.
How, so was there a specific incident? I mean, if you're willing to share it,
Sure.
that happened where you're like, that made that stick in your mind.
Yeah, I was actually had taken some time off to go to Hawaii to just take care of myself and this was not the time I was just telling you I gotten back from Hawaii. This was actually a time before that. I had gone to a different island in Hawaii and I got a phone call at 4:30 in the morning from my manager. Big time difference, I get that. But then wanting me to get a contract done. And I was like, no, I am on a 6 hour difference from where you are and it's not that important. And I felt as if though, if you can't respect me when I'm off enjoying my time, then I can't respect you as a corporation. You want to get everything out of me without giving me back in return what I need. And what I need as an employee is to have my time, for myself or my family or whatever it is. And that had happened on several occasions in which, you're bothered on vacation. Can you get this done quickly? Can you do this? Can you that? My family was up skiing one time and we were like, they were trying to call me and call me and call me. I was like, what the heck is going on when I got back to my phone? And they were like, well, we've been trying to call you. And I was like, well, I was out with my family. Like, is the building on fire that you all are in? What, not going to be
Mm,
much help there. But, just realizing that. Seeing that happen to quite a few colleagues also, when you are on your time, it's your time. That's what it's called, PTO, personal time off. So don't bother me anymore. And that made me feel like I'm going to stick to those letters. Paid time off is my paid time off or my personal time off. That's what we call it. It's paid time off, but we call it personal time off. Don't bother us. Yeah. So it sticks in your head once that happens to you. You don't, come on, you don't want to work when you're off. Who wants to
Absolutely
do
not.
that? Yeah.
Nobody. So
Yeah.
with you having those lessons from corporate America, how do you feel that's transformed you into a boss?
So with that, I always keep in mind if there are things in construction that happens. If you're say you're doing something, you're digging and you hit a pipe in the middle of the night or something happens, and this actually happened. When I was building the dental office for the same Aspire Dental that I'm getting ready to do another one, we were putting it in the parking lot across from a Walmart there in Tyler, Texas. And it started raining so heavy, and it was just mud going all in, like how you have to dig up holes to put underground. When you're starting at the very beginning, you have to dig up those trenches to put in piping for, water, sewer, all that stuff. And so we had it stacked up, did not know that it was going to rain as heavily as it did, and all of that dirt washed into Walmart's parking lot. And so 3 o'clock in the morning, we're getting a phone call from Walmart's parking lot. And this was before COVID when Walmart used to stay open 24 hours. Hey, all that construction dirt is washing into our parking lot. If somebody slips and fall, then we're going to have problems. Yeah, you don't want to call your staff at that time, but then you have to, you do. Yeah, and I get it. I did. It was like, oh my God, I have to call these guys and wake them up and say that. But guess who was out there with them? So was I. So
Mm.
it's not just if I'm going to call and tell you to do it, I'm going to be out there with you guys as well. Yeah, I wasn't really digging up too much dirt because it's just too heavy for me to put in there, like you too slow. But to get them coffee, to get them water, to get them whatever they needed, I think they had a better sense of, like, oh, at least she's here with us. So at least they're here. They're trying to help us out. They're doing whatever they can to help us get there. They just didn't tell us to come do it. We were in the mix with them. So I always try to keep that in mind. If I have to take somebody away from their family time, it's got to be one, a really, really good reason. And then two, most likely I'm going to be there with you because it's got to be something that's an emergency. Literally an emergency, not something someone else considers an emergency.
Mm. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. You have done like your whole path,
Mhm.
though it's not the traditional path that people have taken.
True.
Just you, just you seeing the opportunity there and taking it. When it came to that decision, did you have that gut feeling of let's do this, or were you nervous?
Um, Well, I didn't really have that gut feeling of let's do this because I had gotten laid off from work and I was kind of bored, not really, just kind of didn't
Mm.
really, was fortunate enough, didn't really have to go run and look for a job right away. Just was kind of just chilling out, figuring out, well, before I had left another big pharma, our next step there was to become an attorney. And I just did not want to go back to school to do that. I was just like, God, no, I don't want to be in school. And I always have this funny story that I probably was the last person on earth to see Game of Thrones because I was finishing up my PhD and could not watch TV. So I had to watch it like way after everybody did.
Mm.
So, when I got laid off work, I was just, just taking some time to get some things done. I wanted around my house done and just chilling, just trying to figure out what my next steps. Do I really want to be an attorney? Do I not? Those type things. And then when I got out in the field and started working with my husband's friend, and my husband would go with me when he could and take off, and I'd be like, oh my God, we went to a Domino's today and we did this, and this. And I was like, I actually hammered some stuff and I did this. And I was like, he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I did it. And he was like, really? So then after that, I think the it was probably just the feeling of I control my time. I control
Mm.
when I want to go, what projects we actually look at the projects that we want to take. I've been approached by different cities because I am a registered Black female owned business. So I get those opportunities, get to look at those opportunities. I can turn down anyone I don't have to take your project. I get to look at things that I really want to do, want to build, want to see how it starts from ground up. Or I can go in and look at apartment complexes. I've done those. I've done like, oh my God, churches, chickens, and all these things have happened within the span of 4 years here in Texas. So, and the exciting part is that Texas, especially around Dallas, it is growing so much. It's growing extremely fast. We have, when you go into these city meetings and you understand what the development aspect of is for the city, Dallas is going to boom. We are going to have now, oh, what is that thing? Universal Studio coming to Frisco, Texas. So that's going to be huge for Texas. It is already, if you go out there, it is one of the things that I look at. As far as watching it grow, a project that's watching it grow, because it's just enormous. It's enormous to see an amusement park growing. And I never thought that I would be interested in that type thing. So it shocks me every day that I actually am interested in it. But the more you start to learn, the more interesting it gets. So now I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, how many women want to know how to fix things in their own homes, or don't really have that male aspect, or it's hard to let people in your house that you trust to come in, not harm you if you're single,
Mhm.
and get things done that if you have to be fixed. So I'm thinking about that and trying to figure out now, how would I own a whole female construction crew? So that's what I'm looking to for the future. I'm putting my thoughts together for that. Not sure if it is starting to teach women how to do it yourself first, and then getting women that are like-minded and say, oh, hey, I fixed this and I didn't know. I am so proud of my daughter Jasmine, because she this girl fixed her own car, and I'm not just saying like fix something little. She fixed her own carburetor, and I was like
Dang.
so impressed by that. She was like, I just don't want this one man told me this price, this other man told me this price at the dealership. Somewhere in the middle, I can figure out how to fix this as, by myself, and not have to pay that amount of money to get this thing fixed. And she got on YouTube. I don't know these kids with this YouTube stuff, but she got on she got on YouTube and looked at a video here, looked at TikTok here, and she fixed it. So I was just like, wow, I was really impressed, because I'm just gonna be honest with you, I would never try to fix a car. Like so out of my wheelhouse, would not know what to do. But I was really impressed by her being able to do that. Then it just kind of got me to thinking, well, how many women really don't want to pay a man? And I can remember when I was single, having
I'm in
single.
that crew. I don't want to pay
Yeah.
nobody nothing.
Yeah. And I can remember like when I lived in California, being in an apartment and then really having this guy come into my apartment to fix something, and was feeling uncomfortable, like, just wanted to stand by the door, like, dude, are you almost through? Well, I'm gonna stand over here till you're almost done. You just have that uncomfortable feeling when you're a female and a big male enters your apartment or something like that. Even though he's hired by the complex, it's still, an uncomfortable feeling. So I was thinking, how many, older women, how many women need that type of thing, where a woman can come in and fix it just like a man could. So that's where I'm looking towards the future, trying to figure out what direction I want to take that in and how that might look. Will I have Latino women? Will I have Black women, Chinese women? Yeah, gotta think about all of that. So that's the direction in which I'm looking at now, and what my future is gonna. I'm trying to figure out how that'll shape. And then the second thing is looking at green construction.
Mhm.
I went to this movie, and it's kind of like a documentary on how other countries around the world are trying to make the environment in which you live clean. And one of the things that I can tell you is that being in the United States stateside versus going somewhere outside of the United States, the air is so much different. It is just so
Mm.
unbelievably different. And that's because of the volume of pollution that America exudes into the air. So, but just looking at green products, want to figure out how we can do construction much greener. I don't know, just don't even know. Just found it real fascinating that the Dutch are looking at wind energy with their we call it windmills and all that stuff, and turning it into sustainable energy through lights and water and all that stuff. So it's just like, you know what, why can't we do that and make the planet a lot better for children that have to live after us? And just because we are America don't mean we have to act like it, is what I say. So looking at some of those and how it can maybe be a potential cost savings for my company as well.
Because I know when it came to like the California fires, I
Mhm.
because I used to previously work in news, we would see just again, just everything ravished. And there was this picture of this home that was just still standing and it wasn't burnt down or anything. Come
Mhm.
to find out, they had used like
Fire
eco-friendly
rated.
stuff on it.
Yep. Yep. That's fire retardant. Yep. Yep.
So how does
Yeah,
oh wait.
actually it is that material that's out there and they're testing it now. That was one of the things that it is over. I just went to see it at the IMAX over in Fort Worth, Texas. It's called the movie was called Cities of the Future. So that's where I saw that and started, just kind of thinking, wow, these were children, believe it or not. Some of this a bulk of the movie was based on children around the world learning, and putting these concepts to use with other children around the world that are trying to do the same thing. So yeah, they're using all type of materials. So and strangely enough, they spoke about the California, I can't talk this afternoon, California wildfires in that movie. So about how much devastation and loss it was and how it can be prevented next time. So yeah.
So do you think that just from you being in construction and really being in those rooms, do you think it's more of a cost aspect, which is why they haven't fully leaned into eco-friendly stuff?
It is both. I think it is a cost aspect. The cheaper, to me, it seems like the more that stuff can benefit the environment, the more it can benefit planet Earth, the more people fight it, and you don't understand that sometimes. And then
Mm,
there's also this huge political spectrum where you have people that believe in global warming, you have people that don't believe in it. You have one administration that will push it forward. You have one administration that won't and just stifles it. So, yeah, I think all of those factors stifle America. I think actually the table needs to be open with some real, true conversations. If this is something that can prevent homelessness, can prevent people from being on the street when devastation happens, like a flood or a fire, a wildfire, then why not move forward with it? But those are the conversations that, the political powers that be have to simply sit at the table and talk about and then align on it. It's not that it's not there. If you see that, the Netherlands are doing it, or you see that Africa is getting this, or you see that another country is moving forward, why shouldn't the United States? And sometimes I think the US is our own worst enemy in that aspect.
mm, mm. Dang, you've done so much. It's such a, it's like you've done so many things in such a small span of time.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of being a little bit of a hater right now because it's like I wish I could.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
we had to fix a pipe. Not we. I lied. I'm not gonna say we. I did not. So my mom and my brother had to come and fix something with my what's the thing called? My washer machine.
okay.
I'm looking like this is stuff. My mom was like, Kayla, I said, I'm useless. I don't know what you want. It ain't nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have just called somebody. I don't know nothing about this.
Yeah.
But like with your plans for the future and potentially teaching women how to do all of this stuff
Mhm.
and letting it seep into the economic, like, the eco-friendly part of it also, girl, the sky is the limit.
Yeah, the sky is the limit, and I always try to convey that to people that I talk to. Don't ever let anyone put a barrier in front of you that wasn't there in the first place. So by that, I mean, if you did not have that in your head in the first place and you thought I can go fishing tomorrow, and then somebody says no, all the fish are out of the river or are gone, they swam away, why would you believe them if and I know this is very simplistic example, but why would you believe them? Why not just go test it and see for yourself? So I never let what I want to accomplish be the goal of someone else. I've always made that my goal and be in charge of that goal. Yeah, you can have your opinion, and yeah, you can probably give me knowledge. If you have walked in those shoes before and done some of the things, then yes, you probably, yeah, if I want to aspire to be Bill Gates, of course, I would listen to what Bill Gates had to say. But if I want to aspire to be Bill Gates and I'm listening to Tyler Perry, then two different streams, two different extremes, two different things. So never let anyone put a barrier in your way that wasn't there in the first place. If you feel like you can do it, then you can do it. You might fail. You might fail twice. You might fail thrice. But that fourth time is be the time when God says, boom, there you go. So I never let anyone put a barrier in my way that wasn't already there. Period.
Dang. Girl, I'm so happy that look, I'm so happy I ran into you. I'm so happy I ran into you. I'm learning so much. I know
Yeah.
this is for other people, but now this is for me. This is for me.
Hey, you get out of it what you can get out of it, right? And so, don't think I don't want anybody to think that I have had like this just amazing, super easy life. That is so not the case. Of course, if you're born black in America, that's always strike one against you. But I never let it be strike one against me. I've always said, okay, I'm black in America. So what? Let me move on. If you're not stopping me for just being black in America, then I'm going to keep right on trucking past you. So that's the mentality that I've always had and kept. Nope, did not grow up rich at all. Grew up in very poor South Dallas, actually. In South Dallas, if you know South Dallas, it ain't the greatest place to be in South Dallas. But I also grew up seeing very wealthy people. My grandmother was a maid, and so I grew up seeing the very, very wealthy in Dallas also, and figured out. Man, their house is nicer than the house we have to go to. Man, this, how do I get this? So from a very, very young age, I can remember asking people, how did you get this? How did you? And I'm pretty sure that my grandmother was probably one to say, oh my God, this girl in her mouth. But, no, was asking because I really wanted to know what was the steps you took to get where you can get, this big TV that I'm looking at. And we have this little big small TV that everybody got to crowd around. So just always asked. And if it felt like it was something of value to me, then I took it, I thought about it, I processed it, used it. If I talked to you and you did not make any sense to me at all, thank you for your time. Threw it on right on out that next year and kept on moving. So that's
So
just
I'm sorry for interrupting. So
that's
for the
okay.
people who are always thinking that they are a burden when it comes to asking people something, what would you say to them to get them out of it?
Ask. You never know. I did not know you. You walked right up to me and asked a simple question. And look where that has led. No, I'm not going to say you're not going to run into some jerks out there. Of course you will. But then, and I have too, like just rude people, jerks, whatever
Mm.
you want to call them. But that didn't stop me. If I wanted the information, needed the information, okay, you're not the only person to get that from. Let me go to resource number two, resource number three if I have to. But you'll never know if you don't ask. So I learned that a long, long time too. I actually have met so many people by opening my. I was I told you before I worked for the government before, and happened to just get in the elevator one day when Mark Cuban was in the building. So I met Mark Cuban just by opening my mouth. Met Stephen Jones of Cowboys, the Jerry Jones's brother, by just opening my mouth, just saying, hello, how are you? Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about this? Or how did you
Mm.
get, I know we're just riding to this floor, but, if you could give me a quick two-sentence, statement, how did you make that happen? And you'd be surprised. They would loved it. They was like, oh, nobody's ever asked me that. Well, yeah. And then they open up and talk to you. So
Hmm.
don't ever think that you can't ask. You can always ask. You might not get an answer. You may get the answer you're not expecting, but at least you took the opportunity to ask.
Hmm.
And
Dang.
you won't regret it. You can always say, well, at least I tried.
What? Yeah, that is
Yeah,
very true.
yeah.
I'd rather go ahead and ask than live in live in all the
Exactly.
regret.
Like, oh my God, if I saw such and such, I would, like if I, one person I would love to talk to would be President Obama.
Mm,
And I would always, like, if I ever met him, is no way in the world I'm gonna stop. There's nobody gonna stop me from asking the questions that I would have for him. No, and it has nothing to do with him as a person or any of that. It's just, how did you see America as
mm,
commander in chief at that time? As a black man in America, how did you see America? Were you scared? Those are just questions that I think deep down inside, we all really want to know, but you can't have that conversation because of, the media will twist it this way or that way, or, whatever his. But, if you have him in the right circumstances where he can feel like, you know what, that's a good question. I felt this way and I was able to breathe when I said this, or so you never know until you ask. So if I had the truth, if I had the chance, he knows what my question is going to be. So there you go.
like ain't nothing wrong with asking questions like that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know just me asking, like again, me just seeing you and me being like, huh, black woman, construction. I have questions. Let me go and
Yeah,
ask.
yeah,
Because in my head, I'm like, there was either two things could have happened. Either you're gonna be like, she's a weirdo, let me go about my business, or she's gonna engage in a conversation with me.
yeah. And
Thank
there you
God
go.
it was the engaging in the conversation.
And you never know. You never know. What if you would have been a huge, construction conglomeration yourself? I would have blown the opportunity. So, you don't always have time for people. Sometimes you catch me on the wrong day. You may be like, I'm like, I'm so focused on this. Like, don't ask me that now. But, you always try to think that I am a person. I want respect in my life when I'm talking to you. That person just wants the same thing. Yeah, it might be worst timing ever that they're asking. It may be, oh, I don't know that answer, but I can refer you to such and such that can help you out. Or no, you might even get like, I don't want to talk to you situation. But
Hmm.
I always feel like if I don't open up my mouth and say something to someone or someone that's trying to ask questions, what if you had been someone that just really needed to talk to me that day just to figure out how to put life in perspective or how to put your future in perspective? I can't say that I'm helping my sisters and brothers out when I won't open my mouth to talk to you. So I always think of it that way.
Hmm. That's a fantastic way to look at it.
Yeah.
And there was
Mhm.
one thing I found very interesting. You don't have a website,
No, I
but
don't.
you are so busy.
Don't have.
How
I
did you how did you pull that off? No website. I'm just like, is she just word of mouth? Like, what is what?
To be honest with you, I do have a website. I just don't publish it. I really don't. I do have a website, but I don't publish it because exactly what you said. It is word of mouth. It is word of mouth, and I have been so blessed in that aspect that I don't. I felt like if we advertise right now, we'd probably be underwater because I couldn't handle it. It's like the business would just be, oh God, it's too much. But word of mouth is been it. And you know what I found? Word of mouth is probably your greatest advertisement,
Mm,
because you actually get someone who has thought about what they did for you. If you did the job right, and they think highly of you enough to pass you on to someone that they either care about or know that needs the service and say, hey, I'm giving you this person because I know you won't be disappointed. Oh, I know you'll get what you need. So it's been word of mouth. And I find that word of mouth is probably the best advertisement for those reasons I just explained. Um, period. Period.
so when it comes to the person who got you into everything, you
Mhm.
told me a little bit about him, and I was like, clearly I'm not around the right people. That was my first mind. I'm like,
Okay.
so I mean, are you able to say anything about
Yeah, yeah. So he has a very, very extensive background in construction. And like I told you before, he had probably built now he's looking towards the retiring stream because he just wants to retire and can. So but before he retired, he had probably built more La Quinta hotels, Domino's, You name it, he's done it. He's done it. He's That's all he's ever known and done. And so through him, teaching me, started, teaching me from the day I got laid off, and he's saying, come out in the field with me, and me and my husband climbing on roofs and doing all that stuff. He was just a great mentor. Now he's still in the picture, but now he has confirmed with us that he wants to just retire. He's in getting close to his 60s, and he now just like, well, why should I work to 65 when I can retire now? So he's like, I want to go fishing. I want to do this. You're doing a great job, so we might as well just let him retire. Um, to get someone that can mentor you like that, watch you grow, help you move forward. Now, did it benefit him? Of course, it helps his business grow as well. But then I'm not riding on the piggyback of someone that was bad either. That's why word of mouth
Mm.
was, key. But to pick that up and to continue it, and we still don't have to advertise, it's something to be said about that. So yeah, he had tons of experience, still helps us out when we get in the bind. I try to figure it out on my own most of the time. Do I still have to call him? Yep, yeah, Greg, I'm stuck on this. I don't know what to do. But yeah. Um, but having that knowledge and having him pass it on and not being selfish enough, it it came in a bad point in his life. Like I said, his son was in a car accident and really needed someone to take over the business. And he was just like, I can't think of any. You guys, my husband has been his friend for over 20 years, and he's like, I just can't think of anybody else. And I was shocked at the point that he did not ask my husband to take it over at first. I thought it was probably going to be my husband, and he said, no, nope. I've watched you do this. I watched you do that. I watched you do this. And I know what you can do. Make it grow. You can take on projects. You can handle it. You can handle people. You can do all of this. And so he selected me, and I was very, very shocked. And so shocked. He actually has relatives, his own brother, his own, you know, all of those people now work under me. So it's just it's what he saw in me, I guess, and what he knew he could develop. And knowing that I would take the challenge on and, learn it, said, he gave me the opportunity. If you think you want to do this, you can see how the money rolls, you can see how this. Then when I did, like you asked me a little bit ago, did you ever have that moment? And I was like, yeah, after about 2 or 3 months into it, seeing what you had to do. And then he gave me my first paycheck. And I was like, wait, what? I made this, what? I made this in 3 months. And then I'm looking at this check that you get from unemployment and this check that you get here. And I'm like, unemployment out the door. And oh, even though I did decide to go back into big pharma, I felt like I could do it both. And he was like, I don't know if you can handle both. I said, well, that's my challenge. Let me see. And now that I can know that I can handle both, he's decided he's wanting to retire. And, I'm going to retire enjoy my life a little bit more and keep going. And then now that I have this plan and, putting up all my profits and putting that away for my retirement, I can retire early too. I definitely won't be working until 65. I can tell you that. So it was worth it. It was worth learning,
Mm.
taking that chance and stepping out on faith and just learning.
So would you ever, like considering the money that you make with doing construction, would you ever be like, big farmer job, I'm fine right now? Like, would you ever quit that? Or were you like, I'm I can do it?
Right now, I'm at the point where I can do it. Have I ever considered it? Oh, of course. They can make you mad one day. Of course. Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you realign your thoughts. You realign your goals. My husband and I have just a little bit more to pay off our house, and then we'll be debt free on our house. So that's a goal. That's actually we thought we were on the 30-year plan like everybody else. So nope. Got it down to like 2 more years and we're through. If I put everything into it like I'm trying to do now, we're done. We don't owe anybody on our house. And then, that's a great feeling. That is a 100% great feeling to know that your roof, nobody can touch it. Pay your taxes, pay your utilities, you're good. That's it for the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about that mortgage payment anymore. So, yeah, that's a great feeling. So, for now, I do have those grandeur, I could definitely be on the coast of somebody somewhere else doing something else and feeling like, yeah, I want to relax now. But I keep my goal in mind that I want to be debt free for my house. And once that's done, I probably will reevaluate. I will tell you that for sure. We'll reevaluate. But for now, no, I'm doing both. It's where you are. And I think you learn a lot of lessons because it pushes me. It really does push me. I have to get off, off my, I call it my day and night job. I get off, big pharma, and then I go into construction. And those two things have neither, nothing to do with one another. And so here, when I'm talking to you, is where construction is set up, and right there is where big pharma is set up. So a lot of times in the daytime, I'm back and forth between two computers, you know. But I can handle it for now. And so I do. I feel like if I put the energy and effort in now, and I know what I have in the bank when I retire or decide to walk away, and I'm comfortable with that, my husband's comfortable with that. We're comfortable with that. We know when we leave, we don't have to come back to the door with somebody saying you got to be evicted or your house is foreclosed on. It's done. It's over. You just have this different mindset that it's freedom. It is 100% debt-free freedom. So that's what our goal is, and we stick to it. So
I am gonna be like you one day. Hopefully soon.
try,
Hopefully sooner than
try.
later.
And I think when we were talking, I told you that I didn't learn a lot about money growing up.
Hmm.
I didn't know a lot about it. I was around it because like I told you, my grandmother was a maid for the wealthy in Dallas, and so I saw it, but I had no idea how to attain it. So I started to teach myself. I started to understand, what does money mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? And one of the best things that I ever did was I wanted to get my daughter a car when she graduated high school. So I worked and 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 I paid for her car. Total 100% walked in, paid for it. Biggest mistake I ever made. Biggest hands down mistake I ever made. She didn't appreciate the value of knowing what it meant to work for a car.
Mm.
So that was a lesson learned. I was like, "Ah, you know what? Next kid, that's not happening. You're gonna pay for your insurance. You're gonna pay for this." Got my next daughter, my husband and I are making more money, doing better. Got my next daughter a little Range Rover when she graduated. And like, come on, kid, come up with that insurance money. Come up with that. Come up with this. No, no. Okay, well, I learned a lesson. So guess what? You're not keeping it. Sold it. She didn't think we were. Sold it. Sold it. Like, you can't hold up your end of the bargain. You have to understand what working gets you. We
Mm.
gave you a start, and if you can't put the insurance on it and keep that up, then you don't deserve the start. Now, my last kid, he has got to have his own insurance paid up front, so it just trickles down. Now, he's got to have his money in the bank for his insurance before I even go to the car lot. So, see how that works. Gave one
Hmm.
kid one, bought the car for the next kid, said, but you got to do the insurance. She didn't do that now. Sorry, buddy. Everybody's made a mistake before you. So now you got to have your insurance money, 6 months of it up front,
Mm.
all of that before we get you a car. So it's just like those type things that I want them to learn and understand. And I realized that first child, she did not understand the value of what it takes to work to get a car. Now, that car winded up getting into an accident. And guess who did not buy her another car? I did. Dad didn't. She had to buy it on her own. And
Mm.
now she has that same car that I just told you she fixed because she understands what it means to have to work and pay off a 5-year car note.
Dang.
So
So, what advice would you give those parents to be like, to start them off early so then when they get to that age, they, oh, when they get to that age, they end up understanding the value of what you're doing? Like, what would you recommend?
First of all, teaching them to start a bank account and put money into it and understanding how to invest that.
Mm.
My youngest, we've done this for all the kids, but my youngest, he understands it best. He totally understands it best. He understands he owns stocks in Starbucks. He understands he owns stocks in Walmart. He understands that. So if you don't understand it, get a book and teach yourself. I got a book. I taught myself. I taught myself about that. I taught myself about stocks. I taught myself about returns. I taught myself about dividends. I taught myself those things so that I could pass that on to them. Not just give them a silver spoon in their mouth, but understand that if you don't save now, if you don't understand what saving now is, you're going to be trying to catch up like I'm doing now at my age. One, praying I can do this job, my full-time job, get it all paid off, and then enjoy life. If you start when you're young, when you get to my age, then you're on an easy slide because you saved all your life. Americans have a problem with saving, period. Period. They have a problem with saving. Everything in America is instant gratification, instant this, instant that. I'll catch up later. I'll do this later. I'll live on credit. I'll do all of that. Do this. Catch up. Catch up. Catch up. We're in this cycle of catch up in America, and it's not good. It's not. I had to learn that the hard way. I had always been scared of, I guess, scared of spending money,
Mm.
um, because I understood what it took. I used to have to watch my grandmother go to work and clean houses and help her in the summer. I used to always do that. I understood that from my mom, who was a school teacher and had 4 children, and my dad wasn't around. So it was a struggle. I know what it feels like not to have, see her with her paycheck as a teacher, get paid, and not have enough to pay the light bill, not have enough to make all the bills. I've seen that before. And I wanted to know, how do I stop being scared of things that I need to survive with? I need lights to survive. I need water to survive. How do I make it so that those things don't haunt me at night? Because as a child, I would see those things. I literally would see those things. Like if a person didn't need their house clean that week, or if my dad didn't come through with some money, we might not get shoes. Might not have enough money to get uniforms for school. I was taken out of private school and put into the public school. She never wanted us to go to public school, but she had that struggle. You know, as a single mom, she couldn't afford it on her own. So I came out of private school at first and then had to go to public school. Big change from, private school to public school, and just saw what it's like to struggle with money. I saw that in my neighborhood. I saw that in South Dallas. I saw that in my community, and just wanted to know, how do I prevent that as I get older? How do I do it as I get older? And I don't want to make mistakes with money, don't want to be careless with money. I think the greatest thing that I have ever learned is knowing what money means. And I don't mean that in the sense of, what does $5 mean to you, or what does, $100 bill mean to you? I mean, by, what does money in the bank do for your security, do for your peace of mind, do for your future? I always tell everybody, save $1,000. If you
Mm.
can't figure it out, like my nephews that are young, going off, starting their lives in the military, this, that, and the other, save $1,000. Make that a challenge to yourself. Don't think about it as being, I've got to save $1,000. Think about it as that I've got this $1,000 goal over here that I'm going to reach, just so I can tell my aunt I made this goal. I made this goal, and you know, it's there. I worked, I did whatever it takes to put the $1,000 there. That is the best feeling, to know that you managed your money enough to be disciplined enough to save up $1,000, which for an 18-year-old is pretty hard to do, or a 20-year-old is pretty hard to do. And then the next thing I tell them is, read this book, and I hand them Think I Can Teach You How to Be Rich. It's a book that I read a long time ago, and it is like my Bible. I live by it. I took his steps. I did what he said do, and it all worked out. Um,
Mm.
by saving that $1,000, not only are you training your mind to get into a saving mode, but you just created a nest egg in case something happens. Most emergencies that happen, like a flat tire, car being towed, or whatever, day-to-day things, typically cost less than $1,000. Wash machine breaking down, those things that are emergencies that we come up with, like, they typically cost less than $1,000. And I had gotten so focused on trying to get that $1,000 in the bank, and an emergency happened. I was like, oh my God, I don't even have $1,000. When I was like, this was like 20, I think I was like 24. I was like, oh God, I don't even have this money to get this fixed. I had forgotten I had saved the money. I was so focused on making sure I had saved it that I had forgotten that I had saved it. And it could save me. And in that turn, I was like, oh, you know what? Oh my God, I had put this money over there. Totally had forgotten. Totally had forgotten. It saved me. I didn't have to ask anybody for nothing. I didn't have to do nothing. I think I had parked in the wrong spot and had my car towed, but I was able to go get my own car. I didn't have to call, like,
Hmm.
Mama, can you loan me some money to, nope, I had it on my own. And to be able to save yourself from an emergency and know you're gonna be okay until that next paycheck comes or to what, whatever is the best feeling in the world because you took care of your own problem. You didn't have to hear anybody's mouth. You didn't have to hear anybody, like, oh, when you gonna pay me back or what, none of that. You saved yourself. So $1,000 will almost always save you. It will almost always save you. And then the next thing that I teach my nephews is, and my other family members, is that don't get credit cards that don't work for you.
Mm.
Make sure your credit card works for you.
Yeah, because we
I
were
think
talking
I think
about the
yes, yes,
the
yeah.
airline cards and everything.
Exactly, exactly. I think your kids picked it up for me when it fell into my truck. Yeah, I don't take credit cards that don't work for me. I don't need your high. I will call. I don't care about, me and Discover just totally had to break had to break relationship with Discover. They like sent an email out saying our interest rate is going up. Well, boo boo, listen, I don't carry a balance, but if that's the way you feel about me as a customer, bye bye. You don't do
Mm.
that much for me anyway. So I use it for business charges and stuff like that. I put it on a card that gives me airline miles. That's what I want. If you want cash back or need cash back, make sure that credit card works for you. That is one of the key things. If you have to have it, make sure it works for you and pay your credit card off. People don't understand that what credit. I never get charged interest on credit cards because I pay my credit cards off on time each and every month. But I just went to Hawaii. I was telling you I just went to Hawaii for $11.20, which was with the tax because I cashed in my miles for using that card. So it gives me something back. I don't need you, credit card company. I need you to give me something back. So two things like that. But just by reading that book, I learned it. I never knew that about credit cards. I didn't know that. But he said, don't ever get a credit card that doesn't work for you. And I was like, what does that mean? And so he started explaining it in the chapters. And I was like, oh. So now when we have to go places, I don't pay for hotel rooms. I use my Wyndham or my Marriott credit card and earn the points. And then, hey, because we have to sometimes be in spaces and places for 3, 4 weeks, and my team is staying there, and we're paying hotel night. Well, guess who gets to use the hotel when I go on vacation? Me. I don't pay anything out of my pocket. Only makes me better. So, those are two valuable lessons that I think that I have been able to pass on to my family, that they'll be like, yes, she always tells us, get a credit card that works for you, not the other way around, and save $1,000. Once you say, and then, once you save that $1,000, you start to figure out, oh, that was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Now let me figure out how to do a Roth retirement account or a kids IRA or this, that, and
Mm.
the other. And you just start learning. So that's how I did. I had to teach myself about money.
Mm. So, in you teaching yourself about money, would you say that you shifted from being in survival mode to actually living?
Yes, 100%. Yes, I
Mm.
live now. I 100% live now. Um, One of the things he teaches you is in that book is, he has an example about a couple that they love to go out and eat and they do it guilt free. They save up $21,000 a year because they know they want to go eat at all these fancy restaurants, all of this, all of that. Not a problem. Not a problem. They cut back on other ways, though. They don't go and just go buy, Louis Vuitton or Gucci or whatever else, or, they cut back on what. So it is what you consider living on. So when I feel like I told you, my husband left, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go fly out to Hawaii for a couple of days and chill out. That's what I did. That's what I consider living. It is what you consider. I have always wanted to see very, 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 very different spectrums of the world all around the world. And So that's my living. I travel. I love to travel, love to go different countries, places, see people, meet people. So that's me. Your living may look very different, but whatever it is, live for that. Don't live for something else. So yeah, and it allows me to do that. I always have an emergency fund of $1,000 cash in my house that I don't touch. And if something happens, and even the kids know, if mom's not here, hey, the washing machine breaks. We can call somebody. It's not gonna, our lights are not gonna be off tomorrow. We're not gonna not have groceries tomorrow. Do I use coupons? Absolutely. Why am I not going to use coupons when they're giving me free money on stuff? I am never going to be so well off that I won't do any of that because guess what? The richest people usually do. They usually do. A savings is a savings. I don't care if that thing costs $3 and it's a coupon for $1 off. Guess who's going to have that coupon for $1 off? Thank you. There you go. So, you save different ways, but then also by saving over my groceries, and maybe I save, $400 or $500 a year using coupons. Guess what? $400 or $500 I can eat out when I'm traveling somewhere else and not feel guilty about it. So you
Mm,
just have to understand how you want to live your life and what that looks like and make it happen. Make it happen.
mm.
I think I told you this before. I and this is how you get your mind trained. I don't know if it was you, but I was telling someone this. They were asking me about what was something that you thought you were not going to reach. And for a time, I was a single mom with two kids, and my kids wanted to go to Disney, and I was like, oh God, not Disneyland, Disney World. And
Mm.
I was like, I told them, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. I didn't tell them when, but I told them we're gonna go. I saved up for 2 years. I researched how much it would cost to stay in the hotel that they wanted to stay in. How much is all these tickets gonna cost us to go to all these amusement parks? How much is it gonna cost me to either drive versus fly? How much is it gonna cost me to eat there every day? All these things. So I knew it. I knew it hands down. I said, okay, I can't afford to do that right now. I'm a single mom. But this month I can afford to pay for the hotel. Number first night, hotel next night, next month, hotel next night, next month. Okay, done with all our hotel is paid for. All right, now I'm gonna move on to our airline tickets, Jasmine's tickets, Antonio's tickets, my ticket. Boom. Took me 2 years, but we got there. And
No,
my
but that's
kids,
a great, great way to think about it. Like, okay, I saved up for
yep,
this hotel night, because it's
yep.
like it's taking those baby steps.
It's taking baby steps. I took baby steps. They said they wanted to go, and I was like, yeah, okay, we can do that. Not bad kids. I can give them that, but let me figure out how, because I don't have that money right now. So I said, but you know what? We're gonna go and baby, that's in the day when they used to send you DVDs. I would order
Mm,
those DVDs every time Disney put out one, and I'll be like, "Look, y'all, Disney sent us a new DVD. We're gonna do this when we get there. We're gonna do that." And they was excited by getting them free DVDs. I was keeping them on the hook till I could come up with the money. So I just broke it down. How can I do this? How can I do that? How can I do that? I took 21 members of my family to the Grand Canyon in Sprinter vans, had the best time. We went to LA, we went to, Las Vegas, like took my 21 of us went. 21 of us. And I planned it out so that I could pay for everybody and get them there. And I just took baby steps. I've done that for my family for Aspen, Vail, Colorado. We go skiing in some of the best places in the United States every year for Christmas. I plan it out. So a plan works. A plan works. A plan works. So don't tell me you can't reach your goal. Don't tell me you can't travel because I'm excited. This August, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to fly to Boston. I've been to Boston before. My husband hasn't, so we landed in Boston. And I'm going to Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. 5 states remain that I have not been to in the United States, and I will finish every state in the United States, visit it for at least 2 days. Canada, Mexico, Alaska, and Hawaii. And so I've seen all this side of the world. I'm so excited because that was a goal I have had since I was in 8th grade. to
Dang,
see every state in the United States. So I'll be I'll be finishing it up and it feels so good because I told my mom that before she passed away. I was like, I'm gonna see every state in the United States. And my mom probably was looking at me like, yeah, you go ahead, little girl. You just got them ambitions. You go ahead. And I have been this summer, I will finish that up. I will finish up all of those states. So I'm so excited because it's a personal goal that I've had for a long, long time, and we'll finish it. We'll finish it.
that's amazing. So is there
So my
any
point is,
country?
yeah.
Is there any country that you're like, it's on my bucket list? I need to go there.
Probably Australia. I just haven't been because it's like, God, it's such a long flight. But Australia, is on my bucket list to go to Australia. Um, and probably Greece. This coming fall, I'm going to next year fall. I'm going to Spain. I'm going to start all of that side of all of Europe. So I'm going to Spain, Switzerland, all those places, and yes, starting to see Europe a little bit more, and excited about that. Last kid will be out of the house and he's graduating high school. So, like, yay. So now my husband and I are free to roam the country, roam the world. So, those are my goals now going forward.
So why Australia? They got a bunch of things that just be doing stuff to people. Because I saw a video where it's like they call it like spider season, where you like it looks like it's snow, but it's just a bunch of spider webs
Oh my
everywhere.
God.
I don't have it in my heart.
I,
I don't have it in my
I don't
heart.
know. I don't know. I've been to some countries that's pretty rough, Honduras, those type countries. I've
Mhm.
been to like a lot of countries, but um I don't know. It's just something. I think it's the Sydney Opera House that I want to see. I want to say see the Great Barrier Reef. Just want to see those things. So, if I don't like it, I can get up out of there. That's for sure.
It's too much happening over there that be like you see random kangaroos in the street. I watch the videos. I'm already nervous. They say you got spiders
Okay.
just a crawling. There was one video
Okay.
of this dude, he was just talking in the camera and a spider just jumped to the side. I said,
Oh my gosh.
I
So this is a oh my god. Oh god, burn the house down. I'm leaving. I can't.
So I hope I don't run into any spiders in Australia, but now I know to take some spider spray, some spider repellent with me
just
or
bring, what's it
something.
called? Off. Just get some off. No,
Take
not
me
off.
some
What's it
off or
called? That
some
raid. You need that
raid.
raid.
Yeah, some serious extra strength raid is the way you sound. So
Look, I'm maybe because I've seen too many things. I'm just like, that kangaroo is just walking in the street.
yeah,
Okay.
I would be down for seeing a kangaroo walking in the street.
Absolutely not. Do you see how big them things is?
No, I've never seen one like up other except for at a zoo. So, to see one in as long as I figure like as long as it's not bothering, I'm not bothering it ain't gonna bother me. You go right ahead, buddy. I'm just looking. So, you
It's
know,
like, all right, I'm gonna go about my business over here.
yeah, yeah.
But no, this is like super duper awesome. So for people who, again, you're busy. You're busy. For people who would want to get in contact with you, how would you want them to contact you? Because you're not gonna put your site up because you're too busy.
No, not gonna put my side up to. Oh, that's a good question. Um, can I get back to you on that one? I'm not sure. Oh God, I've never been asked that question before, but I will get you an answer. Perhaps I have to open up an email that's not my personal or something like that, and can provide that to you, and maybe I can answer questions that way because I definitely want to help people out when they need answers, and always appreciate somebody taking the time to talk to me, hear my side of the story, hear what I want to say, hear what they listening to what they want to say. And sure, I will get you some form of information to get in touch with me. I didn't know that was gonna come up today, but yes, I definitely will.
Okay, because again, you're doing so much. Your plans are honestly mind blowing because these are things that I would not think about. So now I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I know someone who do construction. Let me,
There you go.
hey
There you
girl, how you doing? Talk about it. But
go.
that's
That's
gonna be
it.
me. I'll
That's
definitely
it.
call.
Okay. All right.
But yep, just thank
I'll
you
get
so much.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. And when we're off, I'll get you a email or something. I may have to, like I said, get another one.
Okay.
But I'll get you some way of, that people that may have residual questions or just want to get some information and even the name of the book that things like that. Yeah, people always, because, I know I talk fast sometimes, but I'll get that to you. I definitely will. I definitely will. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. Being able to put any information out there that will help somebody else, help another sister out, is always going to be something I'm willing to do.
Hey, everybody. Editor Kayla stepping in here. If you guys would like to know more information and how to get in touch with Shammarre, you can reach her at sbrgrouptx@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please stay tuned. There are so many fantastic interviews to come. All right, see you later.